What's up, guys? It's Marcus with Metaphos, and I'm joined here today by Hydro Pump. Hydro Pump, say what's up to the people.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
Yep. And we are here to bring to you guys, it's just a quick tournament review of our first major, Redu Rivals. Redu Rivals 1 was 132 players, and we had quite the split of decks. Let's go over the deck representation, and then I'll let you go over the top cut. How's that sound?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, sweet. So first we had 21 hero beat decks. I know this isn't entirely true because some of these are bubble beat, even though they have a separate category for bubble beat. Like I believe in the top cut, they considered both hero beat, but one of them was bubble beat. Then we had 19 Chaos Dragons. This was the deck I thought was going to be the most popular. But it being the second most popular to heroes isn't like crazy either. Next we had Dino Rabbit. This was a big surprise as the third most popular because I felt like it wasn't crazy popular in our local tournaments. Maybe the most recent one it was that you streamed. What do you think? Were you surprised by this?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen it a ton in our locals, but maybe just, you know, I'm sure a lot of these people were just like new to the format and just trying it out for their first tournament. So I can kind of see like maybe the appeal to trying like probably an easier deck.
Yeah, I also think it's one of the more like premier like control decks of the format, and it definitely has some nostalgia goggles a lot of people have for it. So next is Wind-Ups. 10 of them was the fourth most represented deck, alongside Dark World. No surprises here. I expected these to both be top 3 or 4. So I mean, tied for fourth isn't that out of the question. But still, I thought Wind-Ups would probably be like second or third, but I was definitely wrong there. Next, we have 9 Curry Gear Gia variants. This is my preferred version of the Gear Gia deck, but yeah, makes sense. Probably the most popular version. We had 9 agent variants. This was a split between the Trooper agents and Chaos agents. I think there was a little bit more Trooper agents, though. Then we had 5 Gravekeepers, 4 Six Samurai, 3 Inzector, 2 Chainburn, 2 Lightsworn, 2 Bubble Beat, and this is why I said it was a little bit off, because some of those hero beats are also bubble beats, so it's probably more like 4 or 5 bubble beats. 2 Pure Gear Gia, 2 Gear Machina Curry Gear Gia, morphing all 3 engines. 1 X-Saber, 1 Jirak, 1 Plant Synchro, which, surprise, surprise, did pretty well. 1 Frog Monarch, 1 Heratic, 1 Herald Agent, which is the Ritual Agent deck, 1 Planter Frog, 1 Water Hero, 1 Psychic, 1 TG Stun, 1 Fabled Frog, so 3 different frog variants, I believe. 1 Machina Gadget, Rest in Peace Pudding, 1 Glad Beast, 1 Chaos Control, 1 Anti-Meta Stun, and 1 Evol. And yeah, so it's pretty diverse. I mean, even our top cut, you can kind of see on the side, lots of different decks for only a 16 player top cut, and it's even more split than it shows. I'll let you go over that though.
Yeah, so in our top cut here, we have starting off with the most represented deck in 3 Dark Worlds. So Dark World did fairly well, like only 10 entered and 3 tops, so that was pretty good. And we had 2 Chaos Dragons out of 19. So yep, I expected a decent amount of Chaos Dragons.
Right.
Same for Dino Rabbit. We had 2 here. What was that?
No, I was just agreeing with you. I agree that Chaos Dragons I expected honestly probably a little bit more. So
yeah, top cut anyways. And yeah, we have 2 Rabbit, 2 Hero Beat or just Heroes, and as well as 2 Agents. So Agents did pretty well because they had 9. So
yeah, it's good conversion.
And then we had 1 Curry Gear Gia, and again I think that was at 9 as well. So full. And then with a regular Gear Gia at 1, that was like a pure variant. And we also had a 6 Samurai at 1, which it's definitely a sleeper deck for sure.
Yep.
Gravekeepers at 1. You know, I'm surprised a lot of people played this deck just because like Dark World's in the format and as a decent representation because that's like a really bad matchup.
Right.
But
if they dodge Dark Worlds, Gravekeepers actually have a really good spread into the meta.
Yeah, not like a lot of people were expecting them, and their guys get pretty big and hard to deal with. So I mean, deck's definitely solid. And then deck that no one had on their radar was Plant Synchro, or pretty much Tengu plants managed to top, which was pretty wild.
Yeah, no, definitely quite the interesting split. And even with these splits here, like I said, like the hero beat was really like a bubble beat in a hero beat that topped. So we had a lot of different decks, not a lot of duplicate decks in Top Cut. The agents, one was Chaos Agent, one was like the Trooper Agents, right? So, yeah, really like 10 or 11 different decks in Top Cut, which is crazy.
And did you want to talk about the elephant in the room for this first tournament as far as Top Cut representation?
Oh, what would you say?
Certain deck not topping.
Oh yeah, wind up not topping is crazy. Not only did we only have 10 players, I will say one of our wind up players was 4-1 and had to drop out of the tournament, so it was really only 9, but still none of them topping when, you know, it's literally referred to by many as wind up format. So very shocking to me.
It's done pretty good in the format library tournament. I think it got like 3 out of 8 spots there.
Right.
But just no one topped here. I mean, even if just one topped, like it'd be kind of like a little strange as well. So
yeah, no, definitely big good point there. Yeah, which is weird because I personally have wind up coined as the second best deck in this format. So the fact that none topped, you know, doesn't bode well for that prediction. But let's scroll up and take a look at some of these deck lists. We'll start at the bottom and move our way up. How's that sound?
Yep, sounds good.
So in top 16, the first deck we're going to look at here is Stratos's Agent deck. This was a Trooper Agent deck that, you know, pretty standard list for the most part, I'd say. I like the inclusion. I don't know if they always include the tour guide package, but I like that a lot. Plays the triple call on the Haunted, only 1 solo morning and double torrent. I like that a lot as well, but I do kind of wish, I don't know if I'm a huge fan of Creature Swap. I'd have to ask him how that performed for him. I think I'd like to play a second warning. As for the extra deck here, or the side deck here, we have our Dark World Hate with the Gem Sparks and Shadow Imps. We have our Machine Hate in the form of just Cyber Dragon, so not opting to play, you know, some of the other cards like Knock and System Down. Lance and MST makes sense here. I like the bottomlesses going first. I like the impulses into certain matchups. And then the extra deck is just pretty wide. You can notice here that there's not a large array of synchros because you just don't make them as much in this format. Rank 2s and rank 3s are definitely the biggest things you touch here. But yeah, that was this deck. Congrats to Stratos on making top 16. I'll let you cover the next deck here. Do you want to go over Saxo Hard's list?
Yeah, sure. All right, so yeah, that was more like a Trooper Agents, the last one, and this is kind of like just like the tour guide, or just I guess more chaosy version. Has a chaos sorcerer in it, so that kind of makes it a little more towards chaos. You see effect veilers in the main and a herald. I think that's a little interesting, just kind of doing mixture of both. And you also have Maxi, obviously. And they're opting to play Spirit Reaper, and I think the last list was also playing Spirit Reaper.
Correct.
So just an extra dark, and we see again creature swap, but also seeing enemy controller in this list in the main deck, and it's like just like a bunch of splashed in one-ofs, from what I can see. So and then they're going with the Treacherous Trap Hole, which is interesting. I don't know if there's like a total thesis if it's like staple or not in these kind of builds, like the almost trapless builds, but I see a lot of builds playing it.
Yeah.
And then for the sideboard, you got Electroviruses, and you got the Chimera Tech in the side deck, which I'm surprised I couldn't find anything to cut from the extra deck to, you know, put that in there.
Yeah, I agree with that, actually.
Maybe could go without like the Gem Knight Pearl,
right,
for example. And then this list has Decree in the side deck, whereas the last one didn't. Obviously, this one has less traps in the main deck, but I was kind of interested. The last one didn't have Decree at all. You also have the Shadow Mirrors, like for Dark World hate, Insectors, and whatnot.
Yeah, and this one opting to play Nobleman as well.
Yeah, for like GKs or gear. Yeah, pretty good.
Right. Yeah, no, I like it a lot. I actually personally prefer the Chaos list. I know many prefer the Trooper list. But yeah, congrats to Saxo Hard. Let's get to the next one here. We have a Dino Rabbit player, Ratio NA, piloting Dino Rabbits. Honestly, this looks very similar to Kevin's build. You just got your staple for the macro build, at least 6 vanillas, 3 Guaiba, your 4 tour guide pieces, 2 rabbit and 2 reaper. Like that a lot. We have 3 Forbidden Lance and 3 MST. I'm more of a believer when I play this deck playing a total of 5 of those cards, but I understand the 6. It's, you know, not uncommon. And then opting to play only 1 Compulse. I believe opting the difference might be playing Book in its place in this list. But yeah, very solid list, pretty cookie cutter for the most part. I like the side deck. You kind of have coverage for everything. Here, even with the 3rd macro, for example. And with the extra deck, yeah, I mean, this is pretty standard. The only thing I sometimes see is people play a 2nd Leviair. Just, you know, because recurring rabbit's so crazy. But yeah, like this list a lot
Bless
too.
Gemini Pearl.
Yeah, I think Gemini Pearl's good in this list because your attack ceiling's pretty low. So
yeah, we just had a local where one of the locals I was commentating, the rabbit player legit lost the whole match because he didn't have Gemini Pearl. It's actually
yep,
couldn't
kill
a Gores.
All right, let's get to this, and this is the bubble beat I was talking about. That's not really a hero beat, but you can take it away.
Yeah, so obviously a lot more, you know, centric on Bowman, Bubble Beat. There's, you know, it's more so that just because it's not having like Thunder Kings or any extra monsters, so it's really trying to go as fast as possible. And you have a Hero Live, so just again trying to go as fast as possible with the Photon Thrasher, so that's pretty good. And it's an extra light, and you have obviously the 3 Alias. I don't know if regular Bubble Beat plays Gemini Spark, but it's interesting that they have the 3 Alias. I mean, obviously you need hero monsters, but there's like no Gemini Sparks or Gem Sparks.
Yeah, it almost feels like a rank 4 beatdown.
Yeah,
playing like Poly and Miracles.
Yeah, and they do have the Super Poly in here, and Warrior Returning Alive, so recursion there, and is able to like. I mean, Super Poly can just push for OTK really easy and just like eat whatever monster your opponent has, which is pretty good. And pretty significant trap lineup here with 14. Yeah, the Call of Hanas, the Bottomless, the Compulse, two of everything except for like Solomon Road. And yeah, I mean, trap lineup looks relatively standard. And then for the side deck, we have the Gemini Imps. This is like the premier card for hate for Dark World. Just everyone likes pretty much signing 2 to 3 of it. So
right.
And you have also
I was just gonna say I believe it was the most side deck card in this event.
Yeah, this it's kind of hard to main deck hate for Dark World. Again, it's kind of like Frogs for an Edison format, so you just have to like kind of like load up on it in the sideboard.
Right.
But we have Thunder Kings in the side, so maybe go in for like a more stun post side angle with the deck, just so you don't get torn apart by like hand traps potentially or other hate.
Right.
You have the D-Fissures. What do you think of D-Fissure in this deck?
Yeah, I mean, in this one specifically, I like it a little bit more because it looks like he's turboing out rank 4s, so he's still going to be able to get those guys to the graveyard. Makes a lot more sense to me. I would say, though, instead of some of these different cards like Night Beam and maybe even one of the Nox, I think you could be siding Gem Spark in this kind of build as your former removal.
Yeah, it helps you like grind a little more too, probably. So yeah, that's interesting. But again, they had like the Nox and the System Down.
Yep.
System Down's like an interesting card in this format just because it's a little awkward into set Gear armor. But I mean, if you're playing against like a Machina variant of Gear, it's pretty good there.
Right.
And you just have the Warlords against stuff like Windups, primarily, which is a really good card against that deck.
Yep, makes sense. And then I feel like the extra deck.
Yeah, it's pretty standard for the most part.
Yeah, basically exactly how I would play it, especially if you're playing Super Poly.
Yeah, sometimes you see 2 Shinings, but maybe because of their main deck in the Super Poly, maybe the third one's just good.
With 3 Miracle, 2 Super Poly, I do like playing the third. But all right, cool. Sweet. Congrats to D-King. Let's go to the next one here. We got Ricky, who went undefeated in Swiss, I believe, on a true hero beat deck.
Yeah, this guy's crazy.
Yeah, I feel like he's always doing well in all the tournaments.
I think every single local he's been in, he's like gone like undefeated till maybe like the finals or something.
Yeah, he cooks, man. But yeah, I like this build. I like that it uses Bubble Man but doesn't feature Bubble Man. I like that he's just playing like good beatdown cards, but not like super anti-meta cards that don't really go with your strategy. I like the trap lineup. Maybe find a way to play the second TT. But outside of that, yeah, main deck looks very clean. As for the side deck, I like the 3Ms, 3 Max. I like the Nox. I like the Super Poly. It's very clean side deck. Honestly, kind of addresses everything he needs to address here. Yeah, just really solid deck building by Ricky, to be honest. Congrats, man, on a undefeated Swiss. Sorry your tournament run had to get cut short, but yeah, you might have had the best win percentage in the entire tournament. So
the undefeated curse.
Yeah. All right, let's go over some of these Dark World lists now. I'll let you go over this one first.
Yeah, so this is Godly, or aka Yu Cheng. He's a friend of mine, and he played Dark World. So I have an old school Dark World list, and this looks, well, I mean, the monster lineup anyways looks relatively similar to that. I'd say it's pretty standard minus the Malefic Stardust Dragon. He is playing the Silva, but I also played Silva back in the day. And then we have some things that were interesting to me was like main deck Dark Hole, Balance Trap Holes, and Mirror Forces. Those typically don't get seed in Dark World main decks, but it'd be interesting to see why you played those. And as far as like virus cards, he's main decking at EEV, which is pretty good. Surprised there's no deck devastation virus, but he just that's the one he opted to main. As for the sideboard, he has Max C's for like stuff like windups, probably going second. He has a Morphine Jar, which is very interesting. Mirror Force might be good with the Morphine Jar just so you can protect it for a turn and then use it on your turn, ideally. So that might be something there. He's side decking a Trance Archfiend and has Dark Smog, so you can kind of have discard outlets without like having to go through Gemini Imps, which is pretty good. He has obviously the MSTs, which are staple side cards, and then like the more virus cards and Gozen. Interesting not to see Rivalry Warlords, because I feel like Gozen might hit a couple more matchups, but Warlords is just kind of lights out against windups if they can't out it.
Yeah, they're both pretty lights out against windups. So I do agree Rivalry slightly better versus windups, but if it has better coverage, especially for this deck that like wants to make rank 3 sometimes via tour guide, I can kind of understand it.
Yeah.
All right.
And I mean the extra deck's pretty whatever. It's Dark World, so
right. Yeah, exactly. All right, well, good job, Mr. Lee. That's pretty sweet list. His trap lineup's definitely way different than the norm, I feel like.
Yeah.
Next, we will go over Ghost Rider's list. Check out his YouTube channel for a more in-depth explanation. He plays 10 trap cards, which is different from the norm as well, and he's opting to play 3 Silva, which we don't see often, and no beige, right? So pretty interesting there. He's even opting to play another Terraforming just because he wants to maximize how often he's seeing this Gates early on, as it's, the one spell card that allows you to play every single turn. His choice of unfair cards are the deck devs and triple skill drains. Makes sense. Not opting to really play as much removal and just kind of relying on these Graphas to do some work, and then sometimes the deck devs, right? I like the main deck Dark Smog. I feel like it's similar to Gates. It's just a card that always allows you to play, which, you know, I feel like is half the battle when you're playing Dark Worlds. And when you get to play, your deck just feels busted. Now, I think it's crazy he did not main tour guide, though.
Yeah, it's just probably because he's main deck decided to main deck the skill drains, but I'm surprised he didn't have like more, like, maybe like Trans Archings in the main deck.
Yeah, even with the skill drains, man, I get it, but
yeah,
it's just such a powerhouse card to be able to tutor this from your deck and summon a Grapha, right? Or even for rank 3 plays. I don't know though. It definitely makes sense. It's consistent with what he's going for. I like the TTs in the side, like the triple MSTs, because yeah, I mean, unless you play Macro Rabbit and they open their macro, you're not typically getting punished for this here. Dark Hole, yeah, I like the removal here. Just, yeah, very different take, but I kind of like it. I want to test it out.
One thing that's interesting, Yi Ching or Godly wasn't main deck in the Reckless Greeds. I just noticed that as well.
Yes, yep, that's why I said his trap lineup was much different. But next, let's go to Chiller Jeans here.
All 3 Dark Worlds in a row.
Yep, and this is the most standard one, I feel like.
Yeah, this looks, I think I looked at this list before and it was like 3 cards off in the main deck from my like old school list that I played. Just things that I pointed out that are different. I was playing 1 Silva, 1 Starlight Road, and 1 Solemn Judgment in the main deck, and they have a MST, a Skill Drain, and a second Torrential. So those were like differences from what I played. So it's relatively similar. It's just interesting to see like 1 MST in the main deck anyways. And maybe like just like no Solemn, but
right.
Aside from that, it's like, again, like you said, like the most standard of the list main deck wise. And onto the sideboard, there's the other MSTs, Dark Smogs, and I keep on seeing Bottomless Trap Hole. Like Godly was main decking Bottomless, and Gene is side decking the Bottomlesses. So maybe that goes against like Chaos Dragons, maybe just because like their monsters are kind of sticky sometimes and hard to deal with.
Right.
And then you have more viruses, Dust Tornadoes. I like Dust Tornado and MSTs just because people are just kind of bringing a lot of hate against you. There's like a million Floodgates you can play against Dark World, so. And then there's the Warlords, like I mentioned before, and then another skill drain.
Yeah, lots of Floodgates, bombs. Yeah, a lot of continuous cards in here, and then just removal. And I feel like, that's pretty typical for what Dark Worlds are trying to do.
And I missed the random D Prison.
Yeah, another form of removal, right?
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Well, congrats, Chiller Jeans. Let's check out. Oh, all right. I will let you take this one because I think you enjoy it. I think you enjoy it a lot more than me, and I'll talk about GKs because my wife loves GKs. So
okay. So we have.
So it's Nuki, right?
Yeah, Nuki. I forgot what they have that builder name up there. Anyways, this is Tengu Plants. This is not 2011. This is 2012 Tengu Plants. So yeah, Tengu Plants managed to make it the way to the top 8. And so yeah, we're just gonna go through it. It has the Chaos Monsters, Sork, BLS, and this deck actually got its second Debris Dragon back on this ban list. So I think that's accurate. And then you have maxing out on the Effect Veilers and Maxis, which is interesting. I think that's the only deck in Top Cut that maxed out on both of those. Yep. So
correct.
I mean, at worst, Effect Veiler is just a tuner you can summon if you have like a Gores or something on the field, and it's just another light.
Right.
And then Maxi was just interesting. And I mean, you had the limited plant engine, the 2 Tengus,
no global,
and 3 Thunder
that's
King.
Right.
Yeah, global was banned, and they got Spore back, so that's interesting. So yeah, onto the spells. This is like a lot of power 1-ofs. You got the Book, Dark Hole, Mind Control in the main deck, and then Scapegoat 1-for-1. The trap lineup's a little interesting. You just have like 2 Bottomless, 2 Deep Prison, 2 torrential, and like 1 call of haunted. So maybe I'd like to hear the reasoning, just like 1 call of haunted, because it is at 3 in this format. So maybe it's just like a random tech.
Yeah.
And then the sideboard is just like pretty much just anti-meta. I guess maybe I don't know how often people were just side decking like all their hand traps, because when people think Tengu plants, they're probably thinking I need to bring my hand traps in. Not the case here. It's just like full-blown stun, pretty much with the Banisher, Cyber Dragons, Dyna, and Kaiku. And then there's a D-Fissure. Be interesting to hear what that goes against.
And 1 macro.
Yeah, macro. 1 and 1 when they're both at 3 in this format. And then just like some Forbidden Chalices, Lances. Was there 2 MST in the main deck?
Correct.
Okay. And so that's the third MST, and then the Starlight Road. So
yeah.
Side deck's probably the most interesting part.
Right. I was wondering if he had like a smoke screen plan, or if he only did like a couple of these cards per matchup.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I didn't catch like the full match, so I didn't get to see how that performed.
Right.
And I guess worth noting in the extra deck, there's no Trishula or Brianna because they're banned. So I mean, you still have like a pretty hefty synchro lineup, but those were like your go-to synchros, and they're gone. So I guess maybe you just rely on a lot of like Librarian and Formula synchro lines, and just kind of go from there.
Yeah, it's very neat. So for you Tengu enjoyers out there, for Tengu format, it's not dead in redo format, I guess. So maybe some more innovation will be done. Yeah. All right. Well, congrats, Nuki. It's pretty sweet. You got top 8 with this list.
Yeah.
Another top 8 deck here. We have Gravekeepers. It was Leo Mash. He played a list very similar to the one that topped back in the day, opting to main both Malefic Stardust and 2 Card D. I'm not sure I like the double Commandant, but it worked out for him. I'm also curious how often he got to Royal Tribute people, because there's a lot of decks that are very monster heavy. Like doing it against Chaos Dragons got to feel really good.
Oh man, this is lights out.
Yeah, because you have a Necro Valley on board too. So like, what's their recovery? Yeah, large trap spread I like a lot. Looking over to the side deck here, we have 2 Sidras, 2 Dynas. I like this because you can set it and your opponent's going to think it's Spy. You got the 3 gems, which that's your worst matchup. So I think you have to side very hard against that deck. I'm assuming that's why the Soul Drains are in here. You have the 3 MST, a second.
It's kind of funny. One thing is there's a Gravekeeper that does something similar to Gemini Imps. It doesn't draw you a card, but you can just at least negate dealings or.
Yeah, it might have some merit playing because you can stay lay it back.
Yeah.
But yeah, then you have the 2 Gozen, makes sense. I think the only thing I kind of wish I saw somewhere in this list would be a Needle Sealing. I think it's a very good card in Gravekeepers. Considering you play these. But yeah, outside of that, very stellar list. Extra deck seems pretty normal. Can probably get away with just. Yeah, I think you can get away with just playing 2 Stardust and another rank 4. But outside of that, great list. Congrats, Leo Mesh. Let's get to the next list.
Old Gravekeepers.
All right. We got Honey playing a fan favorite, I like to think.
Yeah, so this is 6 Samurais. My most hated deck back in the day, but I think it's a pretty cool deck. Yeah, I'm not like the 6 Sam master, so I mean, I'm just gonna kind of go through the cards. Something that's interesting, I see as a debate is like 2 or 3 Kaigeki in the main deck. And then I see a list going from like 1 to 2 Grandmaster. The Spirit is an interesting tech. That's just like one that I see people on and off about. And the Iru, the dark guy, he is really good against something like Geargia because you can just pop their armors and no effects. And you have the Zanji that you can use asceticism for with keys on. So yeah, pretty good monster lineup. Again, there's like a couple other niche 6 Sams that you can play. Spell lineup's relatively standard, aside from like the 1 MST. Yeah.
think we got to talk about this card right here. Like 3 of this is different.
Yeah, double edge or double sword.
Yeah, it's double-edged sword technique. Yep.
Okay. So yeah, 3 that card is pretty much like a Gotham's E-Call. That's just a crazy card. You can OTK with it. You can get your Shien back and pop something else. So yeah, that card is insane. That's like your bomb card essentially. And the rest of the trap lineup is like essentially just pretty standard. Just stuff to protect your Shien as well, like Balances, Deepers, and Compulse.
Yeah, I like Compulse a lot in this deck.
Yeah, Compulse just lets you deal with like something that's big that's already on the field. So
this looks like a current format side deck.
It's 3 of everything. Wow, 3 D-Fissure and 3 macro. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I guess maybe Chaos Dragons could be a hard matchup, so you're just like full on hate to get them out there.
Yeah, I mean
that probably helps a lot against them.
Right, against the grave matchups, you gotta imagine you're playing 6 of this. You got a very favorable matchup post side.
And against windups, you have 3 Maxi, 3 Warlords, so that's really good there. So I really like the side deck. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's pretty crisp.
As far as extra deck, I think it's relatively standard.
Yep. One of the things to point out here is 6 Sams did in June of 2012 did get a structure deck, and the only new addition was really this rank 4 right here, but it does matter for extending plays, for your 6 Sam United and Gateway, making something 2k on your board that's small, so there's a lot of uses for it. I kind of like that. It's just another niche interaction.
This is a solid rank 4 option.
Right. But congrats to Honey. He's been a regular in our tournaments, and he's actually done pretty well in a few of them now. So,
yeah, really cool deck.
All right, let's go to another top 8 list. We have Ikaros, who is a server regular, and he also has done well in other events, I believe. He is playing Chaos Dragons, and I like this list a lot. He opts to go with a trapless main deck, not opting to play the Treacherous as a one-of, or like a random return or something, just straight 0 traps, and just relying on the battle stoppers in the form of Trag and Gores, as well as 2 Veilers and 3 Maxi. Definitely a little bit of a different take. I do like the main deck, though. I also play this deck with 1 Trooper. I just like the normal summon count when you have 3 Raikou, these 3 for the tour guides, 3 Lila, and the 1 Trooper. It's good math. But yeah, I can also see playing 2 in some lists. But yeah, very clean main deck. Side deck, he does decide to side the return, which I can see making a lot of sense for people who side D-Fissure and Macro against you. I like the Card Trooper into some slower matchups that aren't, graveyard decks.
Dark World.
Yeah, I got some Floodgates here. Obviously, Decrees can do a lot of work since you're not playing any traps. You have the 3 Imps, 3 Electric Virus. This is really good for the mirror and against machines. And then 2 Sidras. The other nice thing about Electric Virus, it just loads your grave with a light too. So, and then with the extra deck here, it all makes sense to me. I like it. I know some people want to play a Synchro 8 as well, for when you like stick a Gores. So because you have the Gores token, or if you Trag, copy a Dad or Gores with Veiler. I think that's the only thing I ever see debated sometimes, but yeah, pretty standard extra deck there. Congrats to Karos. Yeah, I mean, this is like kind of where I expect the deck to trend a little bit, so it makes sense. Let's go on to our first deck in top 4.
Yeah, so Cyberhorn 92, they actually made a deck profile video just quickly explaining some of their card choices. But yeah, we have Macro Rabbit here. The 9 dinosaurs with the 3 Guaiba. And then this is pretty similar to the one we looked at already. It has the 2 Reaper main deck, and like the ratio you said of like 5 between the Lances and MSTs. He's going with 5.
Not opting to play Night Assailant though.
Yeah, just having the 2 Tour Guide and 1 Sangan. So I see people go back and forth between. I think most people were just like on the total of 3 instead of 4, but be interested to see where that goes in the future.
Right.
And really big trap lineup: 3 Compulse, Prisons, and 2 Macro. So be interested to see where like macro counts go forward, because there's like like maybe people go on like the full on 3, or maybe it's too dead. I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, it's really good against certain matchups. Sideboard, something interesting is a Raikou. I heard this was like the out for Decree.
Okay.
So it's pretty interesting. I guess you can just deal with like big monsters, and you have Thunder King, Nox for Geargia, GK and whatnot, and you have Soul Taker for like the big monsters like the Shining, like Pulsar Dragon, just make him miss timing, Geargia X, and you have the Needle Ceilings. And first time we're seeing this card, Vanity's Emptiness. Not really too popular in this format, but you can play it. Just like the main problem is a lot of the cards are like inherent summons, so it's kind of hard to find like a good time to use it.
Yeah, this is one of the few decks I actually like it a little bit more, mostly because they also play the Macrocosmos, so you're not having cards sent to grave to send this off the field.
And then like your Logia and Dolkas can negate things from leaving the field, so that's interesting. You can also like do that like same strategy in like 6 Sams as well, because she can negate things.
Right. No, that makes sense. Definitely something to consider. But good job to Cyberhorn92. Yeah, congrats to him.
This deck got pretty far. So I'm not surprised it topped.
Yeah, I just feel like it's playable into everything. Like there's not a matchup you auto lose, which I kind of like about the Dino Rabbit deck. But next, let's go here to Ichigo Kurosaki, playing a 41 card list, a little bit different. We see a third Veiler and the second Trooper in this list. Opted to main deck 1 Thunder King Ryo. We do see, I think, the same spell lineup and 0 trap cards, which is very interesting again.
And there's like 1 Maxi compared to 3 in the last list.
Oh yes, only 1 Maxi. That's interesting as well. Okay, I did not notice that. Yeah, the last list played 3 Maxi, 2 Veiler. This one's opting 3 Veiler, 1 Maxi, and then playing Thunder King and Trooper. I think those are the differences. So that's why you have the 1 extra card. We see the other 2 Maxis on the side, 3 Imps, 2. I like the Breaker because it's a dark, but it's also another card that's going to clear, the floodgates that stop you from playing, especially because you're able to side down on some of your other normal summon counts, like Trooper, for example. We do see the 1 Compulse, 1 Dust Tornado, 1 Smashing. Yeah, I mean, the rest of this is just like removal or allowing yourself to play. Makes sense to me. Opting to play Armory Arm. I haven't seen this come up a whole lot, but I can see why, since you have Veiler and you got a couple level 3s here. A lot of times you like normal Tour Guide, Special Singin, and you'll get Max Seed or something, but then if that doesn't get cleared, you can Synchro with the Tour Guide, even though you can't Synchro with the Singin. Interesting there.
You also have Tragodia that can copy 3.
That's true too. Yeah, I mean, congrats. Definitely a lot of views on this one. Congrats, Ichigo Kurosaki, for being our best performing Cast Dragon player.
Yeah.
I'll let you go over the second place deck list.
So we have Trash Pleb here getting second place. He definitely was not a Trash Pleb in this tournament. So we have Pure Geargia here. Again, there's like other variants like Machina Geargia or Kurikuri Geargia. Aside from just like all the Geargia cards, actually there's some actually pretty interesting things. We got the Car D and only 1 MK2. Usually that's played at 3, I believe. And then there's the 3 Thunder King and Maxis and the Gores.
Yep.
So Gores is pretty interesting just because I feel like you want to be like, I don't know if you, I mean, it's good if you are behind, but if you're just like going ahead, like I don't.
Yeah, it's also like you have double warning judgments. You're paying life.
Yeah.
You have the Starlight Road that once that's set, it's hard to get it off the board unless you resolve it. You have the 2 Fiendish Chains that can accidentally stick on board sometimes. So definitely can see some concerns, but it's also just such a house of a card sometimes, especially in a format where people are playing triple MST and heavy.
Yeah, it's definitely not a bad card. And we have the 3 Upstart Golems. This might be the first, aside from maybe Dark Worlds, this might be like the only deck that's playing 3 upstarts in the top cut. So that's interesting. And we have the 1 compulse. Usually seeing this card in higher counts and trap decks. And we've seen Phoenix Chain, like you mentioned. This is the first time seeing Phoenix Chain in one of the top decks. How do you feel about this card?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I do like that it can stop attacks and whatnot, but most of the time I prefer Valor to it. But if we look at his side, I can kind of understand why he would opt to play the Phoenix Chain instead. Yeah. And playing Pure Geargia, you don't have as much aggression and strong bodies, so maybe negating attacks is a little bit better than in like the Karakuri or Machina list, right?
Yeah. And seeing Mirror Force here, I'm kind of the fan of the Prison Over Mirror Forces.
Yeah, me as well.
So you don't play into like Starlight Roads, and you don't worry about the graveyard stuff either.
I get playing a split though. Like I think I like 2 and 1 or something like that, because then your opponent has to respect it, right? But yeah, what do we think about the side deck?
Yeah, we've got 3 Cyber Dragons here, so pretty interesting. Just able to eat up your opponent's machine monsters and whatnot, and just like a general good beater. Most of the decks don't have room for Chimera Tech in their extra deck, so you can kind of get away with just sticking it on the field and maybe not getting punished in certain matchups. And then it's interesting to see Crows and Macrocosmos, and only are they main decking the Maxis? I don't remember.
Yeah, 2 of them.
Yeah, they got 2. Okay. And we have the other MSTs. Mind Control is like a blowout card in the mirror, and then obviously the Floodgates that goes in the Macrocosmos.
Yep. And
so that's why you were saying with the side deck, Phoenix Chain makes more sense than Effect Veiler.
Correct. And then I also will say that triple macro is quite interesting, given that you're only playing the Geargia cards. Once you're playing macro and you lose those cards, you don't, like, once you go through your engine, you don't have any recursion. So
yeah, like, because usually like the strength of pure Geargia is you're like looping the Geargiano into like your armors and whatnot, but maybe you're just hoping that you don't have to worry about that getting to that point if you have macro on the field.
Yep, an extra deck looks pretty standard to me. Anything out of the norm to you?
I don't think so. I mean, it's something interesting. Like, I just, is 1 MK2 just odd to you?
It is, in pure, it is a little bit odd to me. I can imagine even going down to 2 or something, and maybe cutting like a Thunder King or maybe that Gores. But I mean, heck, he got 2nd place, so who are we to say anything? Congrats again, Trash Pleb. You were cooking this tournament. I watched a couple of your games. So let's go to the final. Our Edison National Champion of 2024, Bronte, brought a very slimmed down Geargia Karakuri list, opting to only play 2 Karakuris, 1 Birdman, and when you get to the extra deck, you'll see he even doesn't even opt to play the OTK line in the deck. So we got 3 Accelerator, 1 Geargiano, 3 MK2, 3 Armor, 3 Arsenal. So really, this is like built to be more of a pure Geargia deck that like features the Karakuri engine just to give you a better ceiling, which I don't hate. The 3 Maxis, kind of, I feel like when Geargia mains 3 Maxi, they're just kind of conceding that the Dark World matchup is going to already be really hard, so might as well main it for a good chunk of the rest of the meta. So I don't hate it. 1 Dark Hole, 1 Lance, triple MST, makes sense, and 13 traps. Very interesting here that he plays 0 TT, which I understand because, you know, once your armor sticks, you want it to stick. But I do also like TT in this deck, considering you have Accelerator, so you can set that card and it kind of becomes like a Sangan for you, right, when you have TT. Or if you have Gigant X on the board to float. But yeah, very interesting. Curious to see if he sides it. The Triple Call the Haunted, though, super, super different because it not only acts as an extender, but it kind of acts as a bad version of the trap card they receive later on for their archetype, because it just puts another level 3 or 4 Geargia into play. So Don't hate it. Gear. Yep, that's what it's called. And then you have the 3 Compulse. I think this is like best trap card, and it's even better in this deck compared to some other decks. Side deck, we have the 3 Imps and 2 Shadow Imprisonings, which makes sense. I feel like you have to have 5 to 6 cards in your Gear list for Dark World. We see the 2 T-King, 1 Minecon. This is a god card in a lot of matchups. Might even consider maining that one. Needle Sealing's really good in this deck because you can play face down. 3 Gozen, playing Gozen over a Rivalry. I understand because he's not playing the full fleshed out attack build, and he kind of has to rely on the utility cards a little bit more than like a Gear Curry deck would, like full on. You have 1 Black Rose, only 1 Beret, no Beredo. So yeah, he's not even attempting to go for the OTK because that normally requires 2 Curry Synchros and then finishing on like a Scrap Dragon or Stardust. He's not doing that with this deck. He's playing it just to give himself the ceiling, some good removal in the form of Black Rose and Scrap, even board protection, right, with the Stardust. And he's playing more of a like pure Gear variant. That's why you see the 3 MK2s in the Gear and 3 Giganex. I actually like this a lot. It's something I want to try. It's not a version of the deck that I had previously considered, because when I've tested other Gear variants, when I go pure, I don't touch the tuners really, and when I've gone Gear Curry, I kind of really lean into its high ceiling, even, you know, trying to maximize how often I can get the combo off by playing like upstarts and whatnot, or even some other engines. So yeah, huge congrats to Bronte. I mean, proving himself in multiple formats. This dude's an absolute beast. Very glad he won with it. And yeah, absolute killer. What do you think?
Yeah, congrats to Bronte. And then we had like the 2 Gear decks that made top cut, made it into the finals. So that was also interesting.
Yeah, that was very interesting. Yeah, only 2 of them made top cut, and it was well represented. So I was surprised because I think Gear is like top 3 deck. I personally think it's the best deck, though it has a really bad Dark World matchup. But yeah, only 2 made top cut, but they both happen to make finals. So curious where the format goes from here. Let us know down below, guys, what decks you think are the top. Let's go 3 decks in the format. Let us know in the comments. And very excited. We will be announcing the next rivals probably about a month from now. And the tournament itself will probably be another 2 to 3 months from now. But we appreciate you guys tuning in. And until next time, peace out, my Meta Pros.